Hey, everybody. Here's a quick word about our sponsors. First one being LASRApp. You can find them at www.lasrapp.com. They're a laser activated shot reporter. They're amazing what it can do, all of the things that you can do with it, multiple guns, multiple locations, any type of target. They have a smorgasbord of items on their website store. Check them out. Use the affiliate link below or on our website, casualshooterpodcast.com, and use the code CSP 2021 for up to 15% off items not covered by the affiliate link. Next up, we have Gun Butter. I am one of those people that I clean my gun all the time because I feel like you've always got to clean the crud and put a fresh coat of lubrication on it. That's because of the stuff we had to use in the military. I didn't like it, but I have finally landed on something I can get behind, and that is gun butter. I did not shoot. I'm. I did not clean my gun at all at nationals. I did not clean it after the match before nationals, nor the match before that. And there's still gun butter oil on my gun, and I'm going to be using their grease on the lugs of my bolt gun. Next, we have HOIST. It is IV level hydration. It's clinically proven to absorb 110% faster than water. You've got all the right ingredients of your electrolytes that you need: magnesium, calcium, sodium, potassium. It's all in there. A little bit of sugar, but that mixes the right amount to make it absorb rapidly so it's not sitting in your belly and weighing you down. So check it out. Get hydrated, stay hydrated. And thanks for checking out our sponsors. It helps with the podcast. Frostproof is what, 19?
No, they have like 30 individual bays.
I don't remember.
Well, no, the one was broken up into five, so that would have been take five off. They have like 25 competition pistol bays, plus like
Okay.
four training bays they don't use for that.
Okay. All right. So there would be one. All right. I'm trying. How many?
Tulsa could do it.
I figured they could. I
NRA
don't.
Winning In Center could do it. St. George could do it. There's two ranges in Vegas that could do it.
Well, and I heard St. George made. I guess they had issues the last time Nationals was there, and they fixed that problem.
Yeah, they made the bays too narrow, but I've seen they've been working on that too. So
Well, I also heard that there were complaints of stray rounds landing outside of the range.
yeah, they moved the direction of fire
Right. So
away from the
they've
houses.
corrected
So
that.
yeah, that's not an
Now
issue.
you have front sight in Vegas. I
Yeah.
assume that is one. What's the other one? I'm not.
Oh, that's not even one I was counting. You have
Oh,
Desert Sportsman and the other one south of town. So there's three there, I
okay.
guess.
So how many at World Shoot? How many shooters? How many competitors were there? Do you know?
1,300, I think, that ended up competing, but they had slots open that they didn't even have people shooting in. People registered like the day before the main match and were able to shoot it.
Wow.
They have a hybrid schedule where they have six shooting days, but you only shoot five of those six, so they actually have, I think, seven rotations that you could be on.
So could you see something like that type of a format then, where you have that many
I think
shooters?
that's too long.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah, I think so. I think 4 days is kind of the magic number for that. And you could do a 3 day staff match beforehand.
So how many competitors, not counting staff, just competitors, do you think you could fit in a 4 day match like that?
Well, if you have six, so you have a morning afternoon set. So we're going to just double this number at the end. So you have
Okay.
24 bays, right? You have
Yep.
a squad on each one. Say
Okay.
that's 12 people per squad. 12 times
Okay.
24.
It's going to be 240 plus 48, so 24, 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48. 48.
24,
Or
48,
2
52, 72, 72.
272 or 288? Oh, I counted 24. Yeah, 72.
Okay.
No, 64. 264.
Okay. Yeah, 264. So
Yeah.
double that.
Okay, so
320.
534.
Huh? 534.
Yep, 524.
Okay.
260, or wait, we say 262 or 264 now?
I
Now I
don't know.
forgot. Okay, so we're close. We're like 260. We'll call it an even,
Yeah.
560.
Yeah.
520. Good Lord.
Whatever that number comes out to
So
be.
there's 520.
Yeah. So then you
That's a
can have
day.
it. You can, huh? No, that's for
That
the
would be
match. That's for the match.
for the whole match.
Yeah.
Now, how many individual? Okay, so let's look back then. Last year, you had. I'm not going to count like
So I
multiple.
did the number. I did the number in 2021. There's roughly 900 unique entries in the nationals. That includes
So
all the
it's
staff.
900.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. So that's competitors plus staff.
Yeah. And there's roughly 1,200 entries for nationals. 900 of them were unique.
So how many? What? How many of those 900 do you think would be staff? 200, 150?
150 probably.
Okay. So now we're looking at
That's,
about 750.
yeah. You could change. You could, are you still there?
Yeah,
24
I'm there.
bays time. If you go to 14 people per squad, that's 672. If you went to a 28 bay times 12, 336 times 2 is 672. So if you went to a 28 bay match range, had basically seven stages per rotation, 7 bays per rotation, that's 672.
Right.
Only 12 people's squads. If you bumped it up to 14, that's, what is that? 28 times 14 times 2, that's 784. I don't think that
Right.
many people will shoot it. I think you get
You
enough
don't think
that
so?
many. No, I think you get it. Well, I don't know actually.
I think you could
It'd
get,
be more of an event. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I mean, even if you, let's just say you had 750 slots,
yeah,
at some point, I'll just say above 500. I don't know what the number would actually be, but above a certain number, you're going to more than break even. You know what I mean?
Uh, that's not true though because you'd have to have more
No?
staff. You have sponsor
So,
slots that would be built in there. So if you
okay.
had 750 shooters,
Mm-hmm.
I really think you sell some pre-match slots though too. If you have 100 staff that shoot the pre-match, you might as well have 100 shooters there also.
So you're taking 200 out of the nine?
No, you add that to the 750.
So it'd be 950.
Yeah, you'd have 950 slots.
Okay.
Because not all staff will, good or bad, there's staff that don't shoot. And it's not a bad thing, in my opinion. I think it makes sense. Like if that's their hobby, they want to come out, still be a part of the event, it's good.
Now, I just ran a quick number.
Yeah.
If you opened it up for 750 competitors,
Mm-hmm.
if you can get 30 bays, then you come down to 12 and a half people per squad.
Yeah, it's doable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, if you could get 30, you could literally do 5 different
Areas.
shooting. Yeah. Because
Yeah.
you could do stages 1 through 6. That would be that group,
Mm-hmm.
and then just do 6 stages a day. Or if you're doing 4, so it'd be 7 stages one day, 8 another. So you're still getting,
Yeah.
eight squads,
Yeah.
in a morning and an afternoon type of a thing. So it would be interesting.
You'd have increased staff costs just to have the bodies and the ROs on and CROs and extra RM for the sections because they can't all cover one. So there would be added staff cost to that, but that's bringing in roughly $250,000 as revenue from it. But they would probably spend more than that.
But do you think you could, with something like that, do you think you could make money or not even make money, just break even with it?
I think if they were required to stay within that budget, yes, you could break even with it. Currently,
Okay.
there's no budget set for any of the matches. I was straight up told that I can't tell you what this is going to cost us, even though the person that's been doing it had been doing it for multiple years at that point at that same location. So they had years of historical data, and they straight up said that I can't give you that information.
Okay. Was the range fee even the same each year, or do you know?
That was already decided. They had that information, and that's such a small number. It's not even. So they've done it where they pay like per shooter fee to the
Oh,
range or a set fee to like rent the range for a certain amount of time. It's just how the contract is built and set up. It's different for
right.
everywhere, and it's been different on the same range location also before.
Like from year to year. So like
Yeah,
Frostproof would be per shooter 1 year and then it's just a total number
I think yeah, it's been done
the
like that.
next.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly with frostproof, but yeah,
Yeah, I was just using that one as an example though. Okay.
yeah.
Now I've been asking people like all of the last quarter of last year where they would like to see nationals held.
I
What
really
about
don't
you?
care. I think Vegas
No?
was great because it had a ton of stuff to do outside of the match.
Right.
There's attractions for literally everything you can think of around there to do, no matter what your interests were.
Agree.
The stuff is relatively cheap. There's direct flights from probably more direct flights into that than the major hubs like Atlanta, Minneapolis, all that stuff. Like take that out of it. There's probably more direct flights there than anywhere else.
I for SHOT Show I flew direct from Richmond to Vegas and back.
Yeah,
And Richmond's no hub.
it makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of stuff there to do.
I actually said it hasn't found a whole lot of popularity, but I don't care. Damn it, I'm sticking to it.
What?
I said I would like to see like a carry since Carry Optics is getting so big,
Yeah.
have a Carry Optics Nationals the week before SHOT Show, and you get the NSSF involved, and you've got a lot of people. You've got the whole industry there anyway coming in that week and that weekend.
Problem is they're already there. So if you do that before the match, you'll have people having to come in early to be a part of it. So it's not like
Yeah,
they
I
can
know.
just leave Tuesday night and go look at and watch the last few stages of the nationals. They'd have to come in early for it. The people that are in the industry, there's so much work that goes into that event. I would not want to do that if I was actually having to work SHOT Show. Like that would be not ideal at all. And the weather, were you at range day?
No, but I was out by the ranges. I was doing some hiking,
Yeah.
so I know what the weather was.
It's not very comfortable.
Well, I didn't think it was all that bad.
The wind and everything
Oh yeah, I'm
and
fine with it.
cold.
Yeah, man. I tell you what, try shooting rifle in that. I'd
Yeah,
much rather
I
shoot pistol in
yeah.
that all day long.
Yeah. But still,
Well, and
it's
keeping
not ideal.
cardboard targets stapled to a 1x2 is going to be a challenge.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that was quite the wind. I will agree. I know, but I still like the idea. But like you, several people have said what you said.
And if it was
So
after the SHOT Show, you'd have a bunch of people sign up and then a bunch of people no show because SHOT Show was a shitty week beforehand or something like that. So yeah, if they
yeah,
had a
and I
good
mean,
week,
plenty of
they'd
people
show
get
up. If
sick
they had a
too.
bad week, they'd just say, "Oh, I'm skipping and I'm going home." Been gone a week already,
Well, there's
and
no
it's
refund.
draining. It's very draining.
Yeah, I think I walked 12.7 miles
It's
at
a
SHOT
lot.
Show. Yeah, it is. It was, and it was just a sea of humanity this year.
Yeah.
Last year was nice. Yeah, last year wasn't too bad. It was there were because Well, you know, CZ didn't come, Safari Land didn't come, Beretta didn't come. There were so many companies that did not make the trip last year. It was looked rather vacant, but this year everybody showed up and their brother. I mean, I barely saw anybody that I even recognized. There were a lot of people that were there that were like, "Oh, let's try to, you know, link up." You never saw anybody. All right, so let's talk limited optics. I do feel like this is one of those times where a very small number of people are going to be getting a provisional division. But anyway, I
Oh, a
just checked.
very minority of people shooting
Yeah,
limited
just
optics.
a small number of people seem to be driving this whole provisional division thing.
100, I 100% believe that also. I think it's a lot of the sponsored shooters are pushing it, the gun builders are pushing it.
Okay.
I've actually seen, since this kind of came up in the last year, roughly, I've seen 5 people shooting a limited optics gun in limited. Or
Okay.
sorry, limited optics in open. So
Okay.
basically like a slide ride 2011. I've seen 5 people in all the matches I've shot and seen
Well,
people at.
well, that's a very high percentage.
It is not a very high percentage.
Yeah, that was a that was an extreme amount of sarcasm.
Yes, I know. Uh, I've come to the saying, I think the gun weight matters more than the trigger system. So like a
Okay.
polymer gun, if you, I'm trying to, let's try to stay on topic. So creating a new
Okay.
division. I'm not going to talk about adding it to carry optics. It's just silly. You'd have to change too many of the current carry optics rules to allow those guns in. And
Okay.
if you changed a smaller number, and then like if they had could just take their mag wells off, like no one wants to do that. No one wants to shoot those guns without mag wells on them, to be honest, right?
Right. Right.
So that's not even really a talking point at this point. Doesn't make sense. They can't currently change the carry optics rules to get them in until 2024, which we talked about earlier.
Correct.
So that's not even the conversation. I don't know what I was talking about before, but there's such a small number of people that are shooting these guns. I think it's mostly the manufacturers, the people that are shooting for the manufacturers. It's not a lot of people. I think we should be doing divisions based on what like the game mechanic it is. And so the easiest way to talk about this is we have PCC, which is a rifle. That should have its own division. We have revolvers that are revolvers. They should have their own division from the
Okay.
semi-autos. So those are easily things to vastly separate those divisions from other divisions. When we get into semi-auto handguns, pistols, everything gets closer than those two that we previously talked about. So the big ones that come to mind are compensated, non-compensated, optics, iron sights, magwells, no magwells, like high capacity, low capacity. Those are the big ones. You have power factor that's in there also. So
Yes.
major versus minor. Those are
Right.
the big ones that we should be using to craft the divisions. Now,
Okay.
at some point, I think the weight, like if you have a 45-ounce gun competing against a 29-ounce gun, yes, the outliers that are going to be able to compete no matter what gun they're using, we know they exist. They've proven that the gun doesn't matter. But to the
Right.
bulk of the people, it 100% matters. It is a easier thing to shoot a heavier gun than a lighter gun. 100%. It is easier to shoot a heavier gun than a lighter gun.
Couple of things. So
Yeah,
what is so the five, I'm just going to quote it as the 5 people.
sure.
So the reason for this limited optics thing, is it just because they want to have
So
a higher round capacity, or what's
I
the
think it comes down to they don't want to shoot major power factor ammo
on limited optics?
in open. I think that's one of the factors. They don't want to shoot major power factor ammo. So they want that to be a minor only division. I think that's one of the things. They don't want to. I think that's probably the biggest thing. People want to buy factory ammo, cheap 9mm. They don't want to reload. Just like carry
Okay.
optics, how that became popular. It's cheap ammo. If they do reload, it's easy to get. I think major power factor is a huge like negative side of people getting into open.
So they literally, like I've always claimed for years, that carry optics is the cheap man's open.
Yeah.
You've got an optic, you've got a higher capacity or higher round capacity. So it does make it fun. But in this instance, I mean, literally, you could have your magwell, your slide racker,
Yeah.
your optic, your 22 rounds of 9 millimeter,
There's
and
only three things that distinguish limited optics from open. It's comps, frame mounted dots, and major power factor and magazine capacity, I guess. So there's four.
right, because the 170.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's the only difference between those two divisions.
right.
Divisions should group like equipment together so it's not having a revolver compete against a semi-auto. So
Okay,
that should be the division should group like equipment, and they should be different enough that there's not two that are basically the same. So we should use those big things in the game like comps, optics, irons, magwells, capacity, major, minor. We should use those to determine what divisions we should have. And if you use those, you could go down a little further. You basically build a table, like comps on this line, and then you have like where they intersect, that like that's a division. It's vastly different equipment, but it's like equipment competing against like equipment in there. Now, would that
right.
pretty much remove some of the current divisions we have? Yeah,
So would
but
you
we
rather?
would set it would be setting up for not having to make a bunch of changes later on if a small group of people wanted to start shooting something different and then started petitioning for it.
Mm, okay, so you prevent this from happening in the future.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now that would take a lot of foresight for the board to do, which the way they rushed out all these changes and the proposed limited optics doesn't tell me they're thinking that far ahead. They're only addressing what's right in front of them at the moment.
Whose job or which role do you think it would be to think ahead and
The
come up with
boards,
something
it's
like that?
100% in the boards. That's what the board is there to do.
So, but by the board, do you mean that just the area directors or the president or
Both, both of those.
in combination?
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily one person's
No,
job or
it's not.
responsibility, it's
No,
the
not at
entire
all.
board's.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I was trying to figure out. Now, do you think though that at the end of the year, after they've allowed this provisional division, do you think there would even be enough data to support making it permanent, or do you think they
You're going to
would do
need
it
2 years
regardless?
minimum. And they need to have criteria before they put it out there. Do I think they will? Unknown at this point, but I bet they probably won't. Because Yeeman had got on a podcast and talked about it once they put that out, that they don't even have criteria for judging if it was a success or a failure, or if it was neither success or failure, and we'll just add it as is. Could they have changed that between the podcast and what they did in an in-person meeting? Sure. I don't know that at this point. I hope they did, because if not, we're just going to get a division, and it's going to be provisional for a year or two, and then it's just going to 100% be added as a non-provisional, like it's a permanent division at that point.
Now, when they did carry optics, did they have criteria set in place and this is what
No,
we're going to?
no one was thinking about that then.
Interesting. So I guess PCC was the same way. There was
Same
no.
way, yeah. Same with
Okay.
production when they added that. No one's thought about that.
Interesting. Now, has a chart been created that could be submitted to say, hey, why don't we use this going forward as a way to determine whether or not it would be a new division or not?
Well, you couldn't do it right away, so it would be so if someone did submit the chart, it wouldn't be hard to create the chart. It'd take maybe a couple hours to sit down, and maybe an hour to do it the first time, then review it later on and submit it. and then you circulate it around to people before submitting it, and then hopefully the board would circulate it to people and talk about it and publish it and get feedback on it. But you can't do that. You'd have to do that. Okay, so all the divisions are this way through December 31st, 2022, and January 1st. This actually would have to happen the next year based on the current bylaws. So they would have to basically like production doesn't exist, Care Optics doesn't exist. This new division with this basically this game mechanic in it of no magwells, low capacity, iron sights, that's a division. And if it fits in that, that's whatever you want to call it.
Right.
At that point, I don't think names really matter at this point, because
Right.
what is limited, what is open, like it, who knows? Like names at this point do not matter. They don't reflect the divisions. Production has not been production probably for since it came 2 years after it came around. Definitely after Troy changed the external rules, it was no longer production at that point. It is not production
Okay.
off the shelf guns. It just
Right.
doesn't. Not, it's not there.
So, I mean, in essence, then what we're talking about is an evolution of practical shooting in the United States where you have a complete realignment of the divisions
Yes.
based on this chart, using
Yep.
it going forward. And okay.
Yeah.
I mean, if you did it at the right pace, I don't see the issue behind it, you know?
Yeah.
But now going back to something you said earlier about like when you were talking about the rules changing or proposed rule changes for production.
Yeah.
Like no third party base pads, you know, they would have to be or any base pad, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Realigning the divisions to that extent, do you think there would then be a cost to the competitor, or do you create the chart in such a way that you
So
can work that to
the least number of factors. So if we said the perfect number, let's say there's always going to be PCC, always going to be a revolver, because they're so different than everything else. If
okay.
you say there's 4 other divisions or 6 other divisions within the semi-auto gun action type or whatever, you can use that criteria and narrow the divisions down. That I think, although not ideal, like if you have aftermarket base pads on your production gun now and the new division that's low cap, iron sight, no magwell, minor power factor doesn't allow it in the future, would that cost the member some money? Yes. But in the long run, if those were the only 4 factors for that division, those 4 rules, minor only, low cap, iron sight, no magwells, those 4,
Pretty simple.
pretty simple, and it would work for. I haven't been able to think how that would not work in the future. And I think Kenny Platt has said it, like limited and open have had the least amount of modifications to it because they were the most unrestrictive divisions.
And everything else has been loosening restrictions,
Yes, exactly.
loosening
Yeah.
restrictions.
So if you just had those 4 factors, and then say if you had a major power factor, high capacity, iron sight with magwell, that's basically limited now, right?
Right. Yep.
So
Okay.
every limited gun would fit within that. Because honestly, those are the big factors. Like, does a slide racker really change anything? Does it make it easier for certain things? Yes. Is it a big enough factor that you need to use that in the chart to determine like if it should be used in a division or not?
Yeah, I could see where it wouldn't matter.
Maybe in the low cap, non magwell, iron sight, minor division, those are not allowed. But maybe they are. Like, less restrictions, the better. Maybe. Like it's a definite question that if you figured that out, you would figure it out for the next 20 years and wouldn't have to mess with it again.
I do like the simplification of it. I mean, that's right now you've got to go through and read a whole bunch of stuff to figure out, you know, if your gun complies or not. So
You could remove the production gun list at that point. You could remove the Care Optics list. You could really remove the box, or you could add that in there. That I honestly don't know what it does at this point. I know Troy doesn't go around and ask and check guns if they fit the box or not. he asks the manufacturer to verify that it fits within that. But it's not, none of the production guns or carry optic guns are verified before they actually get put on that list.
Really?
No, it's on the manufacturers to turn that in and make sure their guns are compliant. That's why SIG had guns on the list that mags were above 140.
Because it fit the box.
No, they didn't fit the box. They sold
okay.
the guns with base pads that were longer, and it was on the competitor to check that, but the gun was approved as is. Same with the Berettas. The Berettas were approved as is, even though the model they sell has safeties that are too wide for it. And I'm not picking a specific person. Like they sell a model that is too wide to fit the box. That is approved for production.
I think anytime you can simplify rules, I think you're better off. But
yeah,
and I didn't, and this is not a criticism of anybody, but when they increased the carry optics to 59, I didn't quite understand
stupid.
that. I was like,
so stupid.
I just felt, why not make it no weight limit?
They essentially did.
Yeah, but then why put a number on it? Why not just put unlimited? And eventually, people are going to realize that, okay, this is too much. I need to back it back down. So, people will find the right weight for them.
Correct. And that's not a minimum weight. That's a maximum weight.
Correct.
So the people that are running around saying those guns weigh more than my open gun are using that as a false narrative, because not all the guns weigh that much. Like, I'd say hardly any of them actually weigh that much.
I couldn't imagine running around with a 60-ounce gun.
There's a tipping scale where it doesn't make sense at some point.
Right, and that's what I mean. People are going to learn that above X number of ounces, it's counterproductive. You need to back that number back down.
Yeah.
So, like I when I picked up that steel rival, I was like, I don't know that, brass backstrap is necessary on this gun. So maybe not. I don't know.
It might not be.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Going from the plastic guns to the steel guns on the Shadow 2s, like, I'm not going to put added weight on that.
Now, how much does a Shadow 2 weigh?
I think they're 46 ounces from the factory. My CO gun is the one that had to be lightened to get to the 45 ounces when they put that weight limit on it to restrict certain guns out of the division. So I'm still using a 45-ounce gun, yeah.
Do you see an advantage of a 59-ounce gun?
No, I don't. I think it was put on there so it would never be a factor, and they could still say that they have a weight limit.
Okay. All right.
If you put a weight so high that everything is within it, it's essentially no weight limit. Even though if you...
Right.
You're just playing word games at that point.
Well, and that was my point. Again, I don't claim to have shot all the different pistols out there, but I cannot imagine a 59-ounce pistol having any more advantage over a 40-ounce pistol.
It would not. It would not.
I feel like it would be a detriment, but I could be wrong. Who knows? Unless we're talking like Bianchi Cup or something where, you just want the slide moving and the gun staying perfectly still, but because you're doing bullseye style shooting.
I still think there's a point where it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I agree.
Let the competitor choose. At this point, it doesn't matter.
Until next time.
Don't be a little bitch.
Yeah.